Hello everyone, and welcome to our third training webinar. Today, we're going to look at how to configure the myGP app. My name is Simajit Kaur, and I'm your Customer Success Manager here in Lancashire. With me today, I've got my colleague Dan, who also CSM, but today will be helping me to deliver this training. On today's agenda, we'll be covering or looking to cover how you can make appointments available online, third-party triage, the famous call and recall feature, COVID vaccination assurance, which includes the myGP ticket and just login, and how you can increase your myGP app users. We will take all your questions at the end of the session, but please also pop them in the chat as well. Please note, we're in today's session going to do a refresher, so we won't go into too much details. However, if you feel you need more training, we will provide you all the links so you can book yourself in for a refresher or more one-to-one session with one of our trainers. So let's get started. myGP app is completely free of charge, obviously for you to offer to your patients, but also for patients to go and download the app. Once they've downloaded the app, they can use the easy onboarding and sign up to the app, and that all they need is their date of birth and mobile number, and that would give them access to booking, cancelling appointments, COVID information, and they can manage their health and weight. The patient can also access the medical records and repeats, but for that they will need to unlock the app further. I will discuss that a bit more later on within the just login section, but for now I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Dan, who's going to look at how you can make appointments available online. Over to you, Dan.
Thanks very much, Sim. Hi, everybody. My name's Dan. I'm a technical trainer and customer success manager here at myGP. And I'm going to be running you through the first three things on our agenda today: making appointments available online, third-party triage, and the call recall function. First of all, my apologies. I would pop on and say hi, but something's up with my camera today. So it's just my voice you get rather than my face today. But I'm sure you're probably all thankful for that. So let's begin. So I'm just going to take over the screen share now, and I'm going to show us all our Connect system. So we can see our login screen here. I'm going to log into my demo site for the myGP Connect system. That's indicated by the information up here. This will look very similar to yourselves. If you see any differences, don't worry. It's not that anything's amiss. It's just our demo site, so things sometimes look a bit different in here. You will have your system will be set up correctly for your own sites there. So let's have a look through then. So we're going through all things myGP to start with. That's under the settings menu. And instead of looking at appointment reminders here, we're going up to the top here, myGP appointments. And the first thing we're going to have a look at today is the myGP appointments, making appointments available in the app. So we're going to go to here first. Now, with myGP appointments and online appointments, I know this is something that's slowly returning. You may have all done this before with your sites and made appointments available, but then of course we got hit with COVID last year, and a lot of appointments came offline. Now, if you're thinking about returning these appointments to online services to help patients get their online appointments, access to your surgery increases, then we can help you with that. Now, what you just to let you know, this first screen here, basic settings, this is just so the system can understand who's a doctor and who's a nurse at your practice. We're going to just skip over that to now for today, just because it's not necessary to put appointments online. It's just so the system knows who's a doctor or nurse. The ones we need to focus on are these two here. So let's go to appointment settings. And this is nice and straightforward. It's just telling us how far in advance the system should look for an available appointment. In this case, it's saying 7 days. You could go 14 or 28 days. So it's going to look up to 28 days ahead for an available appointment in whatever slot type I choose. Now, all you need to do is click save. That will save that on the system. And the clever thing is, no matter how far in advance you put this, if you do select 28 days ahead, Anybody using the myGP app, no matter how many appointments they see, they could only ever book a maximum of 2 appointments at any one time. So they can't just go in and book the appointments that you see there. They are restricted to just two. So I've told the system 28 days ahead, I now want to select my slot type. And in here, you will see a mirror of the slots available on your clinical system. If I've gotten lucky here and labeled a few slots the same as you may have yours, then great. If not, don't worry. Obviously, it's worded in a way to make sense for yourselves at the practice. Now, you can either search for a slot by name if you want to look it up real quick, or you just scroll through in alphabetical order here. Now, this is where we can really help in terms of making online appointments available for your patients, because I know you're not necessarily going to return with lots of appointments all at the same time. It's not the same world anymore. So you might have your telephone triage appointments. They may be only done on a day. You might book some in advance. You might book GP appointments on the phone in advance. You might do video consultations. But you might also have, for example, long-term condition reviews, things that you need to get done where people would normally have to call, and maybe you want to put those online so that they can be booked for those people who know they need those appointments. Take away those phone calls and allow those people to get through on the phone who actually need an appointment. So we've got a few options of how you would make that available. Let's start with a telephone call. So, if you do want to make your telephone appointments available for patients to book online, so they don't have to call to get the telephone appointment in the first place, then you can select the slot. Now, the best way to think about this is that if it's ticked, it will show. So, I tick telephone, that means that slot type of telephone will show in the app. Now, we've got our clinicians here. I've got just two. Obviously, you may have many more depending on your practice size, of course. But again, only if they're ticked will they show. So if I untick someone, their appointments aren't going to show, even though the slot type itself will. So we can choose whose appointments should be online. Now, there is a filter function that relates to the basic settings we saw earlier. It'll filter to who you tell it's a doctor or nurse. It's not always necessary. You can just untick people if you need to. Now, the really clever thing is when we connect with the clinical systems, we can see the available appointments in that slot type. And we can also see if you block or embargo. And I know that's really important for a lot of people, particularly if you maybe only release telephone appointments on the day. So if you block or embargo, we recognize that and we will not show those appointments until you remove the block or lift the embargo. If you want to make them available beforehand, of course, you just wouldn't block or embargo. Nice and easy. Finally, you do get to rename your slot. So in this case, the slot's called telephone. That might be appropriate for my patient, so I might leave it as is. I might want to rename it. So maybe I would want to call it a GP telephone. And I might even put the word appointment at the end. I've used that example too many times there. The autofill came in there. So you can call this whatever you would like. Once you have selected your slot, your clinicians, and renamed your slot possibly, then we would click save. And that will then put that in your myGP app for your patients to see. So that's an example of making telephone appointments available. If you wanted to make nurse style appointments available, perhaps you want to get your diabetics in or your asthma sufferers in for their reviews because you know these need to happen regularly, then you might want to make that particular appointment available. Again, you would select the slot, select your clinician, and if needs be, you could rename the slot. So, for example, in fact, there you go. Autofill is definitely ahead of me today, and you can tell the system name the slot this in the myGP app so that our patients can book in, knowing they're booking into the right slot for them. And it's as simple as that. That's making the appointments available. So really straightforward. If you then want to remove something you've made available, it is just a case of unticking the slot, clicking save, and then that's removed from the myGP app. So really, really straightforward process. Now, to help you see this, you may want to enable a dummy patient within our myGP Connect system. Now, for dummy patients, as long as you're an EMIS site, as long as the dummy patient has an EMIS number and is an active dummy patient, you can send that to our support team. They can be found at help@iplato.com. And I'll pop that in the Teams chat for you as well. Give them the details, which would be the dummy patient's name, their date of birth, the EMIS ID number, and the mobile number for the dummy patient, because it needs to be connected to a working mobile. That would allow you to download the myGP app as your dummy patient, and then you could see the changes you make real time as well. Final top tip with making an appointment available. Whilst we do see a lot of information, EMIS is a great partner for us, and we have great API access. Whilst we can see blocker embargo, unfortunately, we do not see whether or not the patient is sorry, if the appointment is marked for patient access. So that would mean that any and all available appointments in that slot type would show in the myGP app. You can have appointments in two different locations. That's absolutely fine because your patients have multiple choice about where they seek their online services. So they can see those appointments in both places. If someone books it in patient access first, then that's just fastest finger first. Our system will update and then let them know they need to rebook a different appointment because that one's now taken. So that is the appointments themselves. Now, we also were looking at triage, myGP triage, and what we call third-party triage. That can be really useful if you currently don't have any appointments available in your myGP app, or the ones you made available have already been booked. Maybe they're already gone for the day, for example, if you're only releasing things on the day. So if you then want to direct your patients to a third-party e-consult service that you have at your practice, you can do so. You would need to click on Settings and go to myGP Triage here. Now, there's already a link in here as an example, but basically what you would do is go to your e-consult service or your online service, whichever it is, whichever provider, paste in the link into here. And once it's pasted in, you would just then click save on the right-hand side here. Sorry, left-hand side. And then once that link is saved, that means once we activate, that link is then given to your patient. So the app will go, very sorry, no appointments available online right now. Would you like to use this online service? They click on it, and it's a great patient journey then. They don't have to go and find your online service elsewhere. It's all within the one place within the app. So all you would do is activate the app, and that would then be available for your patients to get to your online services. Fantastic stuff. I'm going to move on to the call recall. That's the last part of my little part of the session today before I hand back to Sim. Before I do so, just to let you know, I have popped things into the Teams chat. So you should hopefully see those there, including the details needed for dummy patient and also the email for our support team. If you do want to ask a question today, that'll be the best place to do so. We may not be able to answer directly on the session today. We will try and answer some questions at the end, but pop the question in there, and even if we can't answer today, we will come back to it later on to just go over what you've put in there. So don't feel like just because it's a webinar style with your mic's muted at the moment that you don't have the ability to ask a question. Do feel free to pop something in the chat if you do have anything at any time. So we've had a look at the myGP triage system there. What we're also going to have a look at today is the call recall. Now, call recall allows you to use the myGP app, but in a targeted way. So previously, we've had a look at campaign messaging, bulk messaging, sending out campaigns to your patients, getting responses from those campaigns. We've previously been using the flu as an example. We can use that again today, because with call recall, what you can do is give your patients that you're messaging a slot to book into, and it will appear only for those patients that you are messaging. So there's a real clever ability with this one. Now I'm just going to bring up a useful list for us to use as an example today. Just need to grab my list, which of course is eluding me at the crucial moment. So let's just grab my list. Perfect timing. It's not bringing it up to hand for me. So let's just go to the campaigns menu and to call recall. When you go to call recall, yours might be blank here. Don't worry if you don't see any. That's fine. It just means you haven't used it before. Now you've got an opportunity to do so. If we click on add new, we will go through to the call recall section. And step one is much like any campaign that you would normally do. So you would run a search for your patients in your clinical system, export those onto an Excel spreadsheet or CSV file, and then you would be able to then paste those into here. If you're EMIS, you would use the patient IDs and you would just paste those into here and then move them across to the right-hand side. Once they're on the right-hand side, the system will then filter out any patients that don't have a mobile number, and you can export that onto an Excel spreadsheet so that you know you need to message them another way. Once you've done that, we would then do our campaign message. Now, what the system does here is it works out who in the group that you've created has the myGP app and who doesn't, which means you can send them targeted messages. So for those patients that have already got the myGP app, you would let them know, for example, that they're eligible for the flu jab and that they can just book that through the app. They can still use a trigger word just like you would normally do with a campaign. You can then also use a message for your non-MyGP users, but let them know that they can download the app in order to be able to book their appointments, save those phone calls into your practice, prevent people from not being able to get through. Once you've done that, you would then select your slot type, and again, you'll see a mirror of the slots available on your clinical system. Again, this is just our demo site one. Yours will be different, but you would select the slot you would like to give these patients to book into. And again, you can rename it just like you did previously on the step we saw a moment ago. We then tell the system when this should be available for our patients to book. What dates should these buttons appear? So let's say we were sending this straight away and we want to give our patients a week in order to be able to book these appointments, because our flu clinic is going to be in 2 weeks' time, for example. So we're going to give them a whole week in order to go in and book these appointments. The genius of the system here is that this button for this slot type is only available in the dates you set and only for the people that you actually are sending the message to. When you send the message, step 4 here, just make sure you send it on the same day that your button's going to appear, because the worst thing in the world is to send a message and then not have the button there. So you want those to go at the same time. You can select what time of the day it goes though, so you could have it go a bit later if you don't want it to go straight away. You could then also add a clinical code, just like you do with a campaign message, to say what you've sent to your patients. That will code back to your clinical systems automatically, and you can also add some free text there. Once you're happy with that, you can then send your message. The system is letting me know that I don't have any patients in there. So, for example, I could just pick someone and we'll do an example here of one of our dummy patients. We get a confirmation message and we can send that. Once it's sent, it's then on the system for us and it will look like that for you. That means then that that patient gets that message and they can choose to book in to their chosen slot type. And that is Call Recall. Now, for any of these sessions that we've gone through today, there are help materials. You'll be able to get them on the help site. I'll pop that into the Teams chat as well for you. And there is also a self-booking form as well, which is allowing you to book in for 30-minute refresher sessions. So if you want to do a bit more after this session today, use this form to book in. You can go into and book reviews on reminders, batch messaging, and also Call Recall, which is the one we just went through now. That is everything from my side. I think I've covered everything for you there. Sim, I believe we're handing back to you now for the next couple of topics. So, Sim, back to you.
That's great. Thank you so much. That was really useful. So let's have a look at the presentation. I'll just take the screen back again. And there we go. You should see that on my screen now. And let's see. Great. So thank you for that. So I'm now going to talk a bit about myGP Ticket and just log in and how you can recruit patients to use the myGP app. Firstly, so myGP Ticket is our version of the COVID passport. It's free for patients to download as part of the healthcare that our myGP provides. 12 days later, after the patient had the second vaccine, they will be able to upload the vaccine status into a banner that will appear across the myGP home screen, as you can see on the screen here. Patients are requested to upload a photograph and carry a photo ID when using this functionality. The app simply checks the patient's vaccine and medications to pick up the status and allow them to share this information without having to disclose any other information about the medical history. From practice point of view, this is just simply awareness update. As long as the patient can see the vaccination or medication, they will be eligible to use this service. So that's the myGP Ticket. I'm quickly going to talk a bit about NHS login. So as you're aware, patients can, if they only want to book and cancel appointments, they can use the easy onboarding. However, if they want to have access to medical records and repeats, they will need to verify themselves through NHS login, or if they have credentials or linkage key from EMIS Access, that is also acceptable. So we fully integrate with NHS login, and we recommend any patients that want to use the app, tell them to verify themselves, use the NHS login. And now lastly, let's have a look at how you can increase patients to use the myGP app. So I'm going to log on to the Connect system now and show you what it would look like. Just give me 1 moment. This one, I think is, here it is. So this is the Connect system. So you will then simply just log on to your Connect system. Again, this is a demo site. So if you then go on to your patient and then patient list, it's going to click on to apply and retick that and click on to apply. And nothing's happening. Dan, oh, I was thinking about it. There we go. Let's have a look.
Yeah, just so everyone's aware, it sometimes happens. It holds an old search perhaps and may look blank or only have one or two. Just click reset or do a new search and that will reset things.
It's gone back to normal now. So you will log on to your Connect system and literally will come into patients and that'll appear. So it'll show you all your patients that we're picking up with mobile numbers. So the first section we're going to look at is myGP. So if you tick onto this filter and click on to apply, you will see all your patients that got the myGP app. So now that I've got the myGP app, there's two ways you can promote the app. One is to participate in the recruitment campaign. So we have our hub team. If you consent to participate, they will on your behalf send out messages to patients, obviously once you've consented, ask them to download the app. And once they've downloaded, so that'll be one, increasing your myGP patients. The second one is, as Dan mentioned before, we do have a link where it tells you how you can download the app, but to put that link at the end of any messages, and that will again increase your myGP app use. And it's a great link to use even for call and recall. So like I said, if they don't have the app and you send them an SMS message, tell them to download the app and they can access wherever you made available on the myGP app. So that's how you can increase myGP app users. The second bit we're going to look at is teenage consent. As this demo side, you won't be able to see how many teenage consent we have here, but the way it works is where any patient that's above the age of 16 will be able to download the app should they have a mobile number, no problem. However, if they're between 12 and 15, they can't access the app, and however, they can get the guardian to book and cancel appointments on their behalf. So on your own Connect system, if you go into the consent tab, you will be able to see all your patients between the ages 12 and 15. If the patient have consented to the guardian, the parent, and they've consented together, all they have to do is let you know at the practice. You will then go into Teams Consent, find that patient, and enable them. That means the guardian, if they have the app, are able to go and book and cancel appointments on their behalf. Anyone under the age of 12, the mobile number, or well, they won't have a mobile number, but the parent's mobile number will be used to book appointments for them. So yeah, this is only relevant to patients aged 12 to 15. And that takes us nicely to the end of this webinar. Let me just go back to my presentation. There we are. So thank you all for your time and thank you for attending. Dana shared a couple of links in the chat and they all are on this page as well. I will share this presentation with you all. Do you have any questions? Any questions in the chat?
Yeah, have a look, people. You can click on the little chat icon, the little text bubble. That'll bring up the chat where the links are. You can actually post in that chat as well. And if you want to ask verbally, you can post in the chat and let us know, and we can actually unmute you if you want to ask a question live as well. If you don't, then that's absolutely fine.
No pressure.
We don't force you to ask questions if you don't want to, but we do have a favor to ask. If you've enjoyed the session and you'd like to give us some feedback, or if you think there's something we can do to improve for next time, then there's a link. The last link on the Teams chat there is a link for feedback. Just a couple of questions. Do pop in there and click on that. Give us any feedback on how we could improve for the future, what you think of the system. It would be really, really helpful to us to have that. So do take a moment to go through that if you need to. Otherwise, if you don't have any questions,
Oh, I
then
think Tanya's typing. We do.
well, if you don't have any questions, then feel free to jump out now. That's absolutely fine. If you do have a question, do type it in, and we'll go through it from there. Oh, you're very welcome.
Oh, thank you, Tanya. That's great. Great to have feedback.
Uh, that's really kind. Thank you very much indeed. So click the feedback link and let us and say there too. Um,
Brilliant. That's great. Thank you all for attending. And yeah, we're done just under half an hour. Have a lovely afternoon.